Welcome to Yoga Chats with me, your host, Greg Walsh. I live in Phibsborough in Dublin's north inner city, and about 2.5 years ago, a quirky and interesting shop opened right beside me called Noms. It's a business with heart, and it added a wonderful dimension to the area right away. And why is a business or a shop relevant to our yoga chats? Well, the yoga books would say that yoga is union of body, mind, and breath. But really, an extension of that is the environment that we live in. And so I would see environment as an extension of our yoga practice. And Noms is all about environment. So today's guest is Naomi Sheridan, who set up Noms. Naomi, you're very welcome.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
I'm delighted to have the yoga chats with you today, Naomi. So Naomi, tell us your story.
Yeah, I was living the corporate life, working hard in the corporate world. I was suffering a little from hormone issues, and I had kind of gone down the clinical side of things, but I wasn't really getting anywhere, and nobody could give me any answers. And it was then I was living with a girl at the time who was very into natural organic living, and she was seeing a kinesiologist, and she actually recommended that I go and see her. And that for me was the first kind of step into alternative holistic world, that suddenly a realization that the food that I was eating, the lifestyle I was living, stress were factors that were playing into my health. And it was actually just a big revelation for me. And from there, I started to make changes to my diet and lifestyle, and consequently, it fixed the problems that I was having. And so that just continued, my hunger continued from there. I then started to study nutrition in the Institute of Health Sciences, and it just kind of developed from there.
Right, so you really went on a tangent there. That's interesting.
It was so powerful.
Yeah. And so your hormonal issues. So, like, were you taking herbs or anything, or was it just lifestyle and dietary changes?
There was supplements involved as well. Yeah. So initially I had a candida overgrowth, which a lot of people actually have, that I managed to kind of cut out. Not an easy thing to do, but the power of your diet allowed me to do that, and there was supplements involved in that. Kind of the supplements I see as something that will, if you're lacking in an area, it can help you bring yourself back up. And then really, once you were at homeostasis, you don't need to keep feeding yourself these supplements. You kind of use them to get them to where you need to be, and then your body should be able to continue, and your diet and lifestyle should be able to continue.
Sure. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, candida is a really tough one, and the dietary restrictions to get a handle on it are
all the good stuff. All the good stuff was gone. Chocolate, red wine, everything.
Oh, I hate all that stuff. Terrible stuff. No fun. So anyway, I'm gonna throw another question at you, because Noms really strikes me as a shop with soul. And the ethos of most businesses is first and foremost to make a profit. But of course, you need to make a profit, but otherwise you can't provide the service that you do. But you do have a larger vision. So can you tell me, what does Noms mean anyway? And like, is it something to do with Naomi? And what is your vision?
It's twofold. So Noms stands for natural, organic, mindful, and sustainable. And they are our 4 pillars, pretty much, which drives our business. So everything that we stock pretty much needs to tick at least 3 of the 4 boxes for us to list it. And we, I guess for me, the environment is an extension of ourselves. So much like your home is your environment, outside of that your community is your environment, and outside of that, you know, the general country, and it gets wider, but it's all our living environment, and it's all, we contribute to it, and it contributes to our health as well. So while I set up Noms, sorry, I feel I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I set up Noms because health and nutrition was really important to me. But aside from that,
and hard learned by the sound of things, actually, Naomi.
yeah, but it's also how are we getting those that health and nutrition into our lives? So is it impacting our environment? So it's getting the most sustainable nutritional food in the most sustainable way. So when I was setting up Noms, it was about what I wanted it to be was that we were leaders in health and nutrition for sustainable living and a sustainable planet. And that's where our pillars come from: natural, organic, mindful, sustainable. So it's all kind of holistic.
And can you uphold those pillars, do you find?
Yeah, I have 9 times out of 10 more so than not, but at the same time, it does mean that I have to say no to a lot of people as well. At the moment, a lot of products are still coming in plastic packaging, and really we try our utmost to keep that to a minimum. If when and where we can avoid plastic, we do. With our coffee beans, we have a lovely supplier down in Cork, and they ship them up in robust plastic bags, which then at the end of the month we ship back to them at our own cost, and then they reuse them. And that's our kind of circular economy. Yes, there's plastic involved, but that plastic has been on the go now for years.
Yeah. Plastic does serve a purpose that we haven't managed to find an alternative that serves that yet, but it's about reducing and about reusing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I have to admit, before we came across Noms, and a lot of the Noms sort of creeping into our house was from my wife Quiva. Before that, I was very into recycling, but the whole zero waste concept hadn't really sunk into me. What I love now, and I'll see on your social media that you've got apples from wherever, and you go in, there's just a big bag of apples. There's no plastic, there's no little plastic stickers on them, you know, it's little ways like that. That kind of stuff is going to wreak havoc as well, you know. Small, it doesn't mean it's not there. And but now, you know, our presses are full of jars, and when we're out of porridge, we go around with the glass jar and we get it filled up, and it's fab. I love it. It's a simpler way to live. So
yeah, it is. And the other thing, the big learning for me from opening Noms is seasonality. That not everything is in season all year round. And I think I don't think it's necessarily common knowledge that people don't understand that you're not going to get, apples now at this time of year. Irish apples, organic apples, are actually quite difficult to source because we're kind of at the end of the season. The apples are going to grow over the summertime, and then they're going to fall in autumn time when the harvest is. And then you get them all the way through the winter, kind of for a good part maybe of the spring, and then you do really struggle. But in reality, if we were eating as nature intended, we probably aren't meant to be eating apples at this time. We're meant to be looking at other fruits that are coming into season. And that's just a more kind of holistic view. It's kind of how we've gotten away from nature a little bit.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. We don't have the option these days to grow ourselves. If we could live, you know, in nature, we could grow ourselves, and then we'd be more in tune. But I do think in the small ways, you know, businesses like yourselves can remind us that at this time of year, this is what's in season, and this is what's going to be good for you. This is what your gut will enjoy. You know, it's like we eat lighter in the summer months, and so go with that. That's the kind of stuff that grows at the moment. So yeah, it's great. Moving on, conscious consumerism is one of your passions, and it's very relevant at the moment. It's very topical. So you know, consumerism, you know, there are,
I know, consumerism is kind of like a dirty word, but I think conscious consumerism is probably look, it's not a dirty word. We need to buy things to live. It's just, we're not all self-sustainable at this time. Who knows what the future will bring. So we do need to buy things to live. And I don't think that we should be ashamed of that. But what we can do, I guess what I try to do, and I think is a nice thing to do, is to just be conscious of the purchases that you make, and the backstory to them, where they're coming from, what the materials are made of, those kind of things. I don't know. I just mentioned about I bought a pair of sunglasses recently because it's coming into summer and I don't have a pair. And there's a great blog which I do want to mention here. It's called Living Lightly in Ireland, and the lady who has that blog does some really great research, and she publishes it all on her page, on her website page, and she did one for sunglasses. So I had a read and I looked at all the different companies, and I had several, much like when I'm stocking Noms, I have different priorities that I want to make sure that I'm hitting, that it's a small company, it's a sustainable product, those kind of cues. And so I looked at all the different kind of companies she had researched, and I found one anyway in Cornwall in the UK, where the guy makes them by hand from recycled denim, which I love the story. They were expensive sunglasses, but I'm consciously spending my money on a product that I believe is working to make our planet a better place.
Very cool.
So that, to me, is conscious consumerism.
I have you. And actually, denim has a very high footprint.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I know with me, I try and just a couple of pairs and wear the hell out of them. So
absolutely. And that's the reuse, and then repurpose if you can. Yeah. The last thing almost is recycling, because it takes a lot of energy to recycle something, like recycling plastic. Whereas if you could just reuse it yourself, it's actually saving a lot of energy.
Yeah. Good lesson. Good point. What take home can everyone take away from our yoga chats today?
What take home? I guess maybe is conscious consumerism. For me, it's the M in Noms, that mindful piece about, because it doesn't have to be huge. It's just a small consideration about the way you purchase items, where they're made. Do you want to, for some people it's about buying Irish, supporting local, which is really, really important and really good. For some people it's about buying sustainable and ethically, or organic, making sure there's no chemicals. It's all these things, and just being mindful, maybe have just putting a bit of thought into the products that you buy, and why, because it's our environment, which is we all have to live in it.
Absolutely, yeah, and we don't want to make crap of it.
Yeah.
And can I ask you something else? So is this kind of a pastime of the bourgeois? Do you know, like, is it is it more expensive to live this way?
I think there's two sides to it, and it kind of comes back to that conscious consumerism. It's well, where do you choose to spend your money? For me, I am a single parent with a mortgage. I don't have a lot of disposable income, but I don't buy new clothes ever. I get hand-me-downs from friends, or I buy secondhand. But that's a decision I've made. No, and I'm not being.
No, really, no, fair play to you. That's you're really stepping away from fast fashion there, which is great.
But that's not even. It's just, I guess, because that's not necessarily where my interests lie. I'm really interested in food, so I much prefer to spend a whole load of money on what other people would be like, oh my God, you paid how much for a loaf of bread or whatever, because that's what really, you know, I really enjoy. So I guess it's just about, you know, reviewing, but it's fine if you are really into fashion. I think it's wonderful to look good and feel good, and that's really important. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just then understanding the brands that you choose to support. Because there's loads of ethical and sustainable brands out there, that are really, really fashionable. So I that's what I mean. So
I appreciate, and the question I asked you, I didn't, you know,
sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's great because I wasn't, I don't personally think it's more expensive to live this way. I think it's good sense to buy fewer things, maybe spend a little bit more, get the quality and last. And, you know, with regard to food, buying the food you're going to eat and eating the food that you buy, because it's so easy to just to overbuy. And isn't that that's something I read about, that apparently the amount of unused food that people throw away all the time is astonishing. And so I think it's back to your concept of mindfulness. So
buy as you need. Like that's why we don't do any multi-packs or anything, or well, there is no plastic packaging. So it's one apple and one banana if that's what you need, or one carrot, which is really, you know, nice, because it also means people come back on a daily basis and then we get to see them.
Well, that's it. My grandparents were in the center of Drogheda town, and they used to go out and do the shopping every day for the food. And I love that idea. And if they needed 8 potatoes because there were 4 people for dinner, they'd go and buy 8 potatoes. And that's a luxury that I know, you know, I have with you beside me, and not everyone does have. I appreciate not everyone does have it all, but if you can do it, it's a wonderful way to go. And it does mean that there's so much less waste. And I enjoy going into your shop because it reminds me of those old days of you go to even a sweet shop and you would buy, you know, you'd pick how much you want and that's how much you would consume. It's refreshing. So
Noms is a little bit, I think, like Cheers, in that it's where everybody knows your name. And that's that we do know the majority of the people who come in on a named basis, because
no, I find that surprises me because you know, I pop into Noms and staff are asking about has Cueva gone for a swim today or whatever. They don't just know my name, but they know my life as well, and Cueva's life, and they know we have a puppy and all these kind of things. It's
we can't wait to meet him. We can't wait to meet him.
Well, he's almost ready to be revealed. He's had his vaccines now, and we just need to let them bed in. I think next Wednesday we can bring him out. So he's mad though, and he currently doesn't have any yearning to be on a lead. So we need to get him on because he'll just run and run.
Who does have a yearning to be on a lead?
Naomi, on behalf of everyone, I'd like to thank you for coming to have these yoga chats with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a pleasure. It was great to chat. And say again?
Can't wait to see you back in the shop.
Oh, well, I'll probably be there later today. So, and that's all for now, folks. So I'm Greg Walsh. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you can tune in again for some more yoga chats soon.